Okay, thank you for coming another webinar today. We're gonna share how to calculate taxes. The thing as well is that, and I want to point one important thing here. It depends as well from which country you are, right? So what I have is Kronos USA here, meaning that this is the North American version, right? But you can take a look as well of what type of version you have. If you don't have the North American, I can send you as well the same explanation for your taxes in the W1 version. But let's explain what is the idea of, in this case, this webinar will be for the North American version of the USA. So what I'm trying to explain and what will be the difference, right? Important just to mention, we call the North American version sales tax. Whether in your application in Business Central, you might use VAT, which are completely different, similar functionality, which is taxes, but different configurations and different criteria to calculate your taxes. So for the North American versions, I'm going to review the sales tax collected report. Let's just review a detail so you can see the idea. So for North American version, I'm gonna get the report for the sales tax that was supposed to be collected, calculated by Business Central. Remember that taxes are calculated every time we purchase, every time we sell. So I need a report that tells me, right, for me as an accountant, well, the transactions, I see plenty of different invoices in this report. Look at this. All of these is invoice numbers plus the amount that each sale, in this case, took place, and the sales tax amount calculations, right? So the idea here is that we have taxes calculated and the total. Now, I'm not going to check now the detail, but let's just review the total, only the summary. Okay, and that's it. So for us, the idea is that in the end, we are going to get four different, in this case for the USA, in different counties, states, or even countries, right? It depends what you want to calculate. But here we can go to county or city, and well, we can accumulate taxes according to where you are located, where you are trading. Well, of course, you might get specific total amount of the tax that you must pay. In this case, for what we call this tax jurisdiction, right? Automatically calculated. And of course, we have others, not only in this state we operate. If we, in this case, for North America, right? USA, for instance, we want to calculate for different regions, different states, different cities. Okay, like in this case, I have in the state of Georgia different taxes. You can see that I have calculated some specific amounts for my sales tax collected. But then another one for Atlanta, another one for the county Fulton that is in Atlanta, and Marta, a district that is in Fulton County, that is in Atlanta, that is in Georgia. Got it? So they are actually, and they could be different scenarios. For different products, only the Marta district could apply. And for other products, all of these different taxes for the different states and well, in this jurisdiction, well, might apply. It depends on how actually you trade and what your local authorities will use for these calculations as the rates and the regions and so forth. So to understand how then this is configured or what's the idea, let me just open the sales tax or the tax jurisdictions as well. Let me just see and show you my configuration, right? This is going to be very fast, it's easy to understand. But the idea here is that we need jurisdictions, okay? What is your criteria? For instance, I have for the state of Florida, right? So I know that I need to calculate for Florida. You can create for others. So I can create from scratch a new state, right? But the idea is that, for instance, we get one line for Florida, one for Dade County, Florida, city of Miami, right? So all of this might work together. It depends, but we need to create, and we are going to create each of the, and well, the default sales use tax. Look at this here. I have 1%. If you apply this tax, plus another percent if you are in Miami, in the Dale County of Florida. So you might now calculate 2% if you apply these two that are in the state of Florida. And for Florida, is currently 0. Okay, and this shows me now some GL accounts that I can configure either for sales, for purchase, and even for reversing. So the idea as well, if you take a look at these three different lines, state of Florida, date, and city of Miami, they are reporting, well, actually these two, if you see here, Dale County and City of Miami are reporting their taxes to the jurisdiction that is FL or Florida in the US, right? So that's one of the reasons, and just to mention again, we are going to then work within the actual localization you might have. In Latin America is different than North America, than in Europe, and so forth, right? So once again, if you have got other requirements, I can explain you how it would work in your country, especially if you're in the Caribbean, North America, etc. I mean, in Latin America and so forth. So that's it. So the tax jurisdiction then will be working together, right? And then what I'm going to do is check the tax areas so you can see what I'm talking about. In the tax areas is where I'm going to be configuring the actual calculation that actually will be dedicated for specific vendors and customers. Let's just take a look. So I created two Atlanta tax areas. So if I take a look at Atlanta, Georgia, okay, I have configured here this one, but guess what? Here, remember the jurisdiction that we were talking about? They are all here together. So for Atlanta, we should calculate the state of Georgia tax. Okay, remember this is a demo. This might be changing from zone to zone. This is for the city of Atlanta and then the Fulton, okay, the Fulton County. As well, you can use a calculation order. This is for arithmetical purposes. So first calculate the state of Georgia, and then if I actually just do this, well, it might change your actual calculation because you, remember, are going to apply the actual total amount and apply the state of Georgia, right, tax, plus then the city of Atlanta tax, plus the Fulton County a tax applied to our calculation. Whenever, let's say, we purchase, then we have three different taxes that will be combining together, adding up to the actual total tax amount, okay? That is quite different from other countries because here we can actually add more taxes, right, to be combined as one. In Latin American versions or VAT, that's not the case. We simply select one type of vendor, one type of item. Remember that your taxes calculations will be always based on, well, the type of vendor and the type of the actual item that you will be managing, okay? So let's just take a look, let's continue. You understand that this is a geographical area in each state, in each city, and maybe some counties, it depends, okay? But for now, every time we have a new state, well, trading with different states, we must configure, remember, your tax areas and tax jurisdictions. Why? They carry the percentages and they carry DGL accounts related to the postings that we are about to do. Okay, so once we understand that we have some regions, in this case, let me just open an item. So you can see that as well, we consider the type of item to consider a specific calculation. So let's open a random item that we are going to purchase and see the configurations that it has. Let me just take an item for a demo. Okay, what about some beers? And I have, well, a Coca-Cola, okay? Very useful item to explain the different topics, right? It's very common. It's a drink and it's sold by pieces. Okay, so every time we sell a piece, this is what is going to happen. Well, we might get taxes calculated. But how do we actually calculate? Because we might get different type of products with different type of rates or maybe non-taxable. And how do we configure? Okay, so exactly that. Here we have a tax group code that is currently called materials. So let's just take a look. You need to create for your own products, right? Different type of codes for the tax groups, which are related to products, okay? They are different to jurisdictions, and we are going to use this to classify only the type of item. In my scenarios are non-taxable, or maybe taxable, but for raw materials. So you decide what will be the categories you were managing here. I'm just going to show you some of them. I got labor that I apply. I got materials that I sell and resell, right? As well, I might get some few non-taxable products and so forth, right? Now, what happens if you have raw materials as well? A raw material might get a different tax than a finished products and so forth. So you get me here, right? The idea is that it depends of your local authorities. Well, what is the actual classification for your type of sector with the products that you trade? So in this case, this is getting the materials tax group, okay, as it was already. So no problem. I'm just looking at a random item that here the idea is that we need to configure what type of item this is, because then later we are going to be then using that to calculate specific rates for this item. It's 1043. Now that we as well classify not only some specific regions for our vendors and customers that we are going to configure in a moment, this is only for the product, okay? So combining these two things, guess what is going? Let me just open the tax detail, because we are now going to see the combination of these two concepts for us to start learning, because we need to configure all of this. And let's just take a look. So for me, in this problem, in this process, what I have is, for instance, remember that I have tax jurisdictions. Here they are. In my case, here is Florida, FL. And then I have a tax group code where I actually am going to combine all these different type of products with the actual tax jurisdiction that I have, that I'm configuring, where you are going to specify the taxes that you can use. We normally use the tax below, but as well, we have tax above maximum, okay? So here as well, for the rate that should be applicable, we are going to use the tax below and tax above when you are, or well, quantity as well, when they apply, okay? They are not always used. It is not necessarily the taxes are always related to the volume, either a amount or quantities that you purchase or trade, basically, right? But normally we will be using, of course, our rates. So every time we create a tax jurisdiction, right, where we are supposed to manage our items, well, the idea, for instance, for Lauderdale or FL only has trading for non-taxable, as I can see. They don't get for materials, they don't get for labor for any given reason, okay? So you can see here that the idea is only the combination of these two, the tax jurisdiction and tax group code. Nothing else. It's just that we combine them, and here we might get some other type of taxes that you might use. In the USA, for instance, just to mention, if in Georgia, okay, here, I want to use the with furniture combination or with labor or materials, okay, all of them in Georgia. If I trade any of these type of products, you can use the sales and use tax, the sales tax only, use tax only, and excise VAT, okay? They calculate differently, of course, and they might be applying to different GL accounts when you purchase or maybe use the tax only, okay? It's up to you. Different scenarios, different characteristics that you might apply according to the type of product and according to the type of taxes that you might be using in each region. So if you have questions about how to use all of them, okay, why not to then as well? Maybe making exercises, or call us, Noe, I have this type of calculations that I need to do for any county, any region, right? any jurisdiction in other ways, but for my products, I need to use use tax or sales and use tax. It depends, right? It depends. We could have variations. That's what I'm trying to mention, okay? And from where our configurations will take actual place in our system. So this is a demo. So here from 2020 it was configured, and we can just use and review the information. Okay, so here I have the tax group code. This is for materials in my Coca-Cola. Now, if I want to trade locally, let's say with Florida or Atlanta or any other region, here I might get different vendors in all of these states or locations, right? So I have Fabricam, Wildwood Importers, where they are. Let's just take a look. So if I want to configure a new vendor, let's say I want to open one of these Fabricam vendors. This guy is in New York. What else do we have? This guy is in Chicago. This is First Stop Consultants, a vendor like me. I am a consultant, right? And here I get Graphic Design Institute that is in Miami, right? So what's the idea here? Well, according to the, this is in Atlanta, Wildwood Importers. Good. Here I have a beautiful picture. Well, I don't always use the pictures when I do implementations, right? But they are there. And well, all historical data of trading of this vendor, Wildwood Importers, is here, okay, in your factbook. So you can check invoices if you want to verify that all calculations were okay and so forth. Now, what will I do with my vendor? First of all, is this going to be a tax liable vendor? Okay, it's up to you. Well, the idea is that some of the actual transactions might be using our configurations. So if this guy is in Atlanta and I use the tax liable function, guess what? It's going to start calculating our taxes on different documents. Okay, well, the purchase orders for to begin. So here I have the tax liable. And here the tax area code, okay? This tax area code is Atlanta, of course. So this guy is in Atlanta according to the address, and the tax area code that was configured was as well for Atlanta. And remember that we already have a matrix for all the different percentages or rates that we're going to use in this actual tax area code that might involve different states, a county, and so forth. So I add here the Wildwood Importers vendor to then verify that my calculations are okay, and let's see what is going to happen. So I'm going to create a purchase order now just to verify that our configurations are valid, right? And that the system is showing me what I need to verify whenever I purchase something, what type of taxes you are calculating, okay? And verify how it works. So here's my vendor name. I'm going to use, Wildwood Importers. A purchase order is a commitment with the vendor to purchase items at a given moment, right? And this is a firm document, so this is a real contract. In this case, Wildwood Importers was inserted here, and I'm going to purchase items from these customers. All right, now I'm going to just, let's say, select, I remember that is in database, I have chairs. Okay, Paris, London, Berlin. Okay, these are different models of items. Okay, and here we can see the unit price, or if needed, well, for the purchase, the unit cost. The idea is that we get, according to the unit of measure pieces for my chairs, a calculation that will be applying according to the unit cost. Okay, in this case, let's just take this Paris chair, 151 unit cost. Very good. Okay, so in this case, we get the Paris guest chair. Let me change my warehouse. And here, why not to purchase an easy amount, 10 only, all right? So here we are going to see the total, 1,503, because our unit cost, remember, where is my unit cost? I lost the field. Here it is, okay? So we are just multiplying this by 10. And then we get the total amount. And locally as well, we get either the line amount excluding tax. And let me see if I See the taxes calculated in the line. No. Okay, let me just, by the way, you can personalize your screen now in Business Central to be able to include any other information, new fields that were not present, or change the actual header to not be on the top, maybe on other sections. I don't know, right? What I'm referring to is that in this case, since I'm going to need one specific field to review my tax calculation, right? You can see, first of all, fields that are related. I'm gonna bring them even if we don't really need it, but just for you to learn the actual process. I'm going to insert the tax liable field into my records. And if you need it, okay, important, you can see the tax liable function here. So from the type of vendor which is liable, I'm getting this check mark here from the vendor a card into my purchase order. Then no prepayment, no prepayment, and I don't want to disable amount. Let me see the amount, including tax. So where do I set for that? 1 second. Amount, and let me see if it's maybe VAT or tax. Amount including, I don't know. The idea is just to include the amount including taxes. I forgot what it is, guys. Oh, plenty of items. I don't remember the actual name of that field. Okay, but let me show you here. Since we only have some few items, okay, here is my tax, USD, my total tax. Out of 1,500 for the total of my purchase, I'm getting this total tax in USD. You can see here, right, the rate, I mean the currency, and this will be 105.21 taxes. Okay, so then how do we see maybe by line of if we have, I don't know, like a 100 items or something like that? Okay, the thing here is that we get the actual statistics. Let me just look for it. To review exactly that information, right? The statistics of every purchase order actually is going to give me the lines that were calculated. So here is in the order menu, I got the statistics option that I'm going to select now, to verify that this purchase is for 1,503. So here we are going to check the quantity is only 10. Okay, and here I check, well, how, once again, everything was broken down, the quantity, the purchase amount, the total, and the tax amount is here, okay? So the total, including tax, is just 1,600. So the total number of tax lines that Business Central is calculating for this purchase will be here. Once again, in this four number, please click on that one, and then we are going to be able to verify that we get all the additional information. How and why is this calculating this amount? Well, this is related to furniture, and we categorize a tax group. Remember that concept is related to products, okay? It's furniture, fine. And then the tax jurisdiction code is here. You remember this concept is tied in this case to the vendor. So the vendor is in Atlanta. And for this actual area where this vendor is, we calculate different jurisdictions: Georgia, Atlanta, Fulton County, and Martha, what is this? Let me see, district. Fine. So here, for each jurisdiction related to the area where this vendor is, we get these different rates, okay? 3, 1, 2, and 1%. And just in case, if you have questions, this is not like in compound interest. We calculate once for this jurisdiction, 3%, the actual calculation for this tax, which is 45, which is 3% of 1,503. And only specifically to this jurisdiction, okay? And then we are going to add or sum all these amounts. So take care with this, otherwise, well, you might understand something that is completely different. But here, for instance, is only 1%, okay? And then we have get 45 plus 15 plus 30 plus 15. That is what is currently creating the tax amount that we see in our calculations in our purchase order, okay? And let me see, because I think that as well, the rate. Okay, so you get the number of tax line calculated. The idea, first of all, is that whenever you do a document, you are going to be able to see the actual calculated lines, okay? Even if it's non-taxable, that could be the case. And actually, you can change that here, okay? You can see that, well, in my purchase order, here is my Paris gesture back. So just for us, and this is the basics, right? Because later we can prepare additional reports or customize. It depends. It depends how is your requirement, right? So the tax group code currently is furniture, right? But if I, for any given, I committed a mistake, I have added the tax group code here and changing for this operation to the non-taxable, okay? The tax group code, once is changed, then my calculation went back to 0 because this line only is non-taxable. But anyway, this is just simple configuration, right? Nothing complicated, nothing out of the norm. And then I'm going to bring another chart. Nice. So the idea is that whenever I create this purchase order, I as well might calculate per different type of product. So the product is going to give you then the final touch, because we know that this vendor is already liable, tax liable, sorry. And then we need to verify the type of product to then calculate additional information or taxes, okay? So here we got the base amount, which is the price of the actual item. So we have two items. One is Paris chair, and the other is called a London swivel chair, and it's blue, by the way. So that's it. Then here I get the totals. One is non-taxable and one is furniture, and then we only get the calculation for the furniture. Okay, remember that non-taxable is exactly that. So once I'm sure that this is exactly what I want to do, right? With my trading opportunity and the taxes are correctly calculated, in this case 103. This is exactly what I wanted to actually work within my actual configuration when I actually add a tax jurisdiction and a tax group code to your vendor. Remember, just learning. Don't really, it's not important about the name of the fields, but remember, we are calculating in North American version for the actual tax area, okay? Different tax areas carry different percentages. Second, the type of product as well can interfere in the calculation, like in this case, is non-taxable. Even though the tax area, okay, according to this, requires specific calculations for the city, for the county, etc., suddenly the product is not taxable. So we are not going to get only the calculations for the second line, which is 103.67. And just to mention it, if we want to verify the statistics, when I have changed this, right, I might get, in this case, look at this, once again, number of tax lines. Now we have more. Now we have 8. Nice. So here I have the tax group and the tax jurisdiction where the second product, actually for Atlanta full turn, okay, the actual tax area where this vendor is currently has all of these different jurisdictions, okay, once again. But it doesn't mean that all of them will be calculating, okay? In this case, Georgia doesn't calculate taxes, okay? It depends for non-taxable, but what from according to Georgia, in these jurisdictions, how much you calculate for the furniture? Oh, right. Okay, here 44 in this case, or 3%. Okay, so you can see as well that in the same jurisdiction, in this case Georgia, as well, we get difference where necessary because the type of product as well might be different. Okay, in this case, non-taxable, where we get the rate 0, and in the same tax jurisdiction, we get furniture, or where we purchase in this example, furniture, our rate is 3% there. Okay, so we are combining now among different type of items. If we want to see it this way, we get first different type of items that might be taxable or could be raw material, finished product, or resale. It's up to you and how you manage that, right? But then later, according to the different regions, some items may get different rates in different counties, different states, okay? In this case, if I purchase furniture in Georgia, it is going to apply 3%. Okay, and so forth. You get the idea. So we get dozens of different, and this is the interesting part here for this type of processes. We get dozens of combinations. Okay, and where do I establish those combinations? As well, remember that we get, just to confirm, one area that we call the tax details. Okay, the tax details list is where I combine all of that. Okay, for Florida, what is it the tax for furniture, for labor, for materials, any type of given item that you desire? Remember that this is configured in your item tax group code, and the tax area who carry different jurisdictions, okay, are on your vendors and your customers. The same happens if we do a sales order. So I'm going to leave this purchase order for a second, and I'm going to check once again. Okay, first we check a vendor, but why do we, but if we want, we as well can check a customer. Let's do some more examples. So as you can see, it's not that difficult for us. Actually, the difficult part comes when we are going to work with accountant or with specialists, or maybe when you do integrations, especially in the USA, we can help you with that. We have integrated different tools actually that calculate this for us. Okay, as well, it's as well valuable. So customers, I have a data corporation. And here it is, okay? Once again, my picture of this person and the Adatum Corporation customer. Remember that we have a field related to vendor and customers to make them liable, tax liable or no. Well, your customer card is here. The customer is the person that I use, or the company, sorry, to sell items, okay? To sell items through a sales order, through a POS, through, well, anything. So I got here my configuration for this one is tax liable and the tax area code. Let's review once again the concept of tax area code. Okay, the tax area code is overall even the state. Let's call it that way. Very simple. Okay, in which tax area code you are. And then how is that tax area integrated? Because then later I need to verify that everything is perfectly configured before I start doing, well, in this case, sales operations. Okay, 3 levels, Georgia, Atlanta, and Fulton. Calculation order 1 to 3, if necessary. Good. So with this, and just to finish this webinar for today, the idea, I forgot, we can as well create this. Let me just go back to the initial report. Now that we are more or less understanding the idea, we just go and create our sales tax collected report. Okay, here you can see the tax areas if you want to verify your jurisdictions or tax groups related to items. Okay, but once again, for the sales tax collected, if we want to see the include purchases, which I'm going to do, use tax, no? I want to verify my report. I summarize it, okay? I didn't include the actual details, or because it might include a lot of details, okay? But just as a summary for the, no, the other customer was Atlanta, Georgia. Oof, where is Atlanta? tax area, Illinois. Oh, here, sorry. Yeah, okay, it might include, well, Georgia currently has, remember that it contains different items, furniture, labor, non-taxable, and so forth. And here you're going to see also exempt sales amounts, non-taxable sales amounts, and taxable sales amount. Okay, so the report is going to divide according to how you calculated if you have sales tax, taxable sales, non-taxables, and exempts, of course. Okay, so in this case, because I purchase with non-tax, I have here, sorry, non-taxable sales amount. Okay, there might be other exceptions that we call exempt sales amount, which is as well a configuration that we do. So your actual tax will be just exempt, and every tax area code might get different jurisdictions inside. Okay, in this case, I have for Atlanta, for Fulton, but until Marta district. Okay, but why if I create other, for instance, I have Fulton or Winnet County, I got two different counties, same thing. If you have other cities, if you have other counties, right, or districts, it doesn't matter. You can add them to the state, or in this case, for the actual area. All of these together, right, once again for our webinar, are an area. Tax area, tax group code, sorry, the tax area will be then actually related, including different jurisdictions for your report, okay? So you can differentiate all of them. So we can just, why not download this report? You got it, and you can report to your tax authorities, simple as, and you can, well, send it to PDF or whatever is up to you, right? But here we have integrated PDF, or if you need it with Excel. And if this is not good enough, of course, that you can print your report with additional detail to verify, well, here is all the detail involved, including all the documents, purchase, sales, events. So let's just verify this report again. Remember, if you want for your database or country, I don't know if you're in Latin America, I can show you the same, but for your type of functionality, all right? So once again, the sales tax collected will be here, but I have included the detail. It's just that now the same parameters, the same type of a configuration, right, is including all the invoice numbers, so you can see one by one and verify when needed. Okay, which for this moment, well, I'm just showing you. Or of course, if you want to filter by different report jurisdiction, it's not a problem. You can filter. Okay, you can filter this information. So nothing else. Now, this is the sales tax as well. You can check other type of processes. And let me see if I can find one last that we may tax interest here is. In Business Central, every time we post a purchase, we post a sales or an invoice. In the end, it's an invoice actually, right? We are going to receive tax entries that if you as an accountant are, a list of calculations is super useful for you by document number or even by person who did this or that. This is the way to go, the tax entries window, where you can see what type of a operation you are having, so you can filter your because your type of movement for your taxes, because we have as well purchase, sales, and for your settlement. Okay, so well, why not to include in this case only purchases? Okay, I'm going to filter my interest to only review purchases according to the invoice number, and here for every purchase we get the base amount. Remember, this is on a transaction level, okay? And if that's a requirement of yours, where you as well as the final report summary and anything else, you need to use this, okay? The base amount of this purchase was 444, and then the amount applied, Remember, amount is basically the tax calculated. So we have one base amount and the tax calculated for each entry, okay? But if you still need to verify why I have paused this or that, well, I can see that, well, here is petty cash. So I pay with cash this purchase, and then my inventory and accounts payable account for 170. If that's not enough, you can check the entry just in case, where you can find your own entries, verify the information, right? So the document is this one. And then the idea is that why not you can check the actual invoice, how many GL entries this invoice had, come back to your purchase order and verify, for instance, what tax entries, why for this purchase you calculated this amount. Don't worry, you still have it in your archive, okay? So here I have 3 entries for the 444, but I don't know which county it was, but calculated 3 lines, okay? So if needed, we can go and verify this document number in your archive. It's not going to be a problem for us, okay? So in the end, the idea is that we get a report with the detail, just in case if you want to use it, and I don't know, if you get requirements, okay, that you need to create a special report that you can use. Well, here the tax entry can help me. For instance, if I want going to do a report in another system, apart from what you have here in Business Central, we can create your reports here in Business Central as well and open just this in Excel, okay? Oh, it's just frozen. Okay, sorry, I just maybe got frozen today. Okay, here I think after a while. It was just slow, sorry for that. Okay, we are about to finish. I just wanted to show you my tax entries report that I have downloaded, because from here, right, I remember I only consider purchases. I filtered that, okay? But from here, the idea is that you can create additional reports. You get all the detail. You can export it to Excel. You can use it, okay, if needed, and export or connect with web services. Because if, for instance, in the USA, plenty of different applications, especially for manufacturing, maybe, right? Let me just, yeah, I'm getting a bug. It's not even exporting. It's just for my data. So the idea is that we can actually integrate with other applications. If you're in the USA and you might need, for instance, for manufacturing, your trade and your trading operation is quite large, right? Other than trading only maybe for a POS or store. If you are purchasing in the USA, in Canada, in different states, it might be really cumbersome. We can integrate, so these amounts entries can be calculated outside, and then we receive the total amount. And we have integrated that in the user with different tools. If you have questions now, you can send me some emails, right? So we can work with this within your country. But Business Central for the USA and for Latin America, so to speak, which is W1 versions, have the same functionality or similar, because, well, not everybody is using the NA or the USA criteria for the city, the county. Maybe you are only using national or foreign period, okay, which is called the VAT functionality. If you have questions about that, just because of the time today, I'm finishing my webinar, right? But if you use VAT, send it to me a message. By the way, let me, oh, I'm always running. Okay, here is my email. Noe.wellman, and in your chat, I'm going to write you so you can then send me additional questions, right? Optimus. But mainly, oh, sorry, mainly if you are using what we call W1, okay? All of you in Latin America, okay, are using that version, in the Caribbean as well. So let me know if you want to see the same functionality. but for the VAT, where we get reports, we can do as well configurations for products, for customer vendors, and do adjustments and get a final report outside Business Central, or if you need to calculate outside, write your own different type of reports for your authorities. Maybe you have like other layout or I don't know. Okay, we as well can customize because we get the tax all of the tax entries in our system, and with that we can use it. Okay, so that will be it for today. This is just a simple introduction. If you want, please send me your questions. I can help you whenever you have issues with taxes, because well, the idea is that we get together, because this is, remember, like basic scenarios, but of course when it comes to taxes there are plenty different uses, right, for us to be implementing Business Central, manufacturing, resale, retail, wholesaling, etc., and different countries. Okay, so please have send me a message if you need it, and as well if you want, well, because these topics I actually create them for our users, right? And every time I work, well, it's just with the topics that you send me, so I prepare the webinars later. Okay, so thank you very much. Okay, if you don't have questions, or if you want to, well, talk about something, please write me. Otherwise, see you next week in our next webinar. Okay, so thank you very much. Today it was a good and easy webinar. I have a question. Oh, thank you. Okay, so the idea is just here, it's just my email, send, communicate with me, and I will be more than here to help you guys. So thank you very much for assistance today. See you then next time. I'm gonna leave you now with a Gabriel. Here we have a generic poll, so please help us with this. That would be really great for us to get your feedback. So thank you very much, and see you next time. Gabriel, you want to say something?
Yes.